What's up, everyone, and welcome to Wednesday's edition of Reptile News. Now we're going to start off with two kind of small stories, but nevertheless probably more important than the last larger story. And the first one's actually a letter that I read that questioned the significance between large wetland areas and small wetland areas and the protections they receive. I didn't have my little pop filter on my microphone. I hope that wasn't too terrible. Anyway, this letter goes on to explain how in Washington State they've done wonderful in protecting larger wetland areas as far as clear cutting goes and logging is concerned. But on the smaller ones under a quarter acre, they're allowed to clear cut right up to the edge of the wetland. And it's real interesting because it's not something I mean, I'm not a sciencey type person. Science interests me. I love science, but I don't partake, I guess you could say. I'm not a scientist. But you always think that, oh, well, they're saving the wetland over there, so that's great. But you don't think about the one over here, the little one right there that's closer to the frogs than that one or whatever. So it brings up a really good, I'm sure, debate, if you will, on the topic between the protections that large and small wetlands get. I'm not exactly sure in California if larger get more protections than smaller. I don't know how that works. It's going to be something that I have to look up. And now we're going to move over to Castletown, which is somewhere not in America. I'm not 100% sure where it is, but this story goes for everybody all over the world that likes to keep reptiles as pets. And what had happened here was a light or heating element was put too close to a piece of cage furnishings and it caught fire. They do say that there were no injuries. They don't specify whether the animal was injured or not, but let's assume no injuries means no injuries. But we could never, this is something that we could never not worry about. I can't tell you how many times through the past, some of you here right now have watched tons of my videos where we've spoken about fires that have started because of heating the animals we love to keep. And there's been stories out there of people that lost everything because of it. And it's something that should always be at the forefront of our mind and should be checked and double checked and triple checked at all times, because where something produces heat, it can also produce fire, and fire can and will devastate lives. And now we're going to talk about probably our most interesting story of the day, but like I said, I'm not sciencey, so a lot of this I'm probably going to I'm going to try not to get it wrong, but hey, we got the link down in the description below if you want to read it for yourself and double check me. But we're going to talk about an animal that lived 210 million years ago, and that's the pterosaur, more commonly known as the pterodactyl, which, just FYI for you sciencey people out there, we're calling it the pterodactyl from here on out because that's what it was called when I grew up. Now, recently scientists unearthed a pterodactyl fossil in Utah, which dates back to the Triassic period, roughly 210 million years ago, which makes it one of the earliest known ones found. And another thing even almost more interesting is this thing was found in a desert environment in Utah, where usually they have been found in the past in coastal environments in Europe. Now, this particular fossil is 65 million years older than the ones that they've already found, which date back 130 to 140 million years ago. And you know, I always find this stuff, even though I cannot pronounce the scientific name of this animal, or I would tell you, stuff like this always interests me. And we've talked about this so many times in the past, how much not only new species, I mean, finding new species. Now it's 2018, we're finding new animals in 2018. That's absolutely amazing. But even finding old extinct animals like this that we didn't even know existed in environments we didn't even know existed, it kind of opens the door to a whole new thought process of what these animals did, where they lived, and how they lived back then. So it's just amazing stuff. And that's where I'm going to end today's show. If you'd like to read more about these stories, that link's right down below here in the description. And as always, if you're still watching, my name is Jason White. Now you know what's going on in the reptile world. Be good to each other, and we'll see you Friday.